Britain and the European Union are still trying to finalise a trade deal that was expected to be announced a few hours ago. The Irish Foreign Minister, Simon Coveney, says there's been a last-minute hitch on the terms of fishing rights. Another 6 million people in England are told to stay at home from Boxing Day as the toughest level of COVID restrictions are widened. The UK's Health Secretary says the increase is necessary to contain a faster-spreading variant of the virus. 6,000 trucks are still waiting to leave the UK and cross the Channel. The hauliers need COVID tests before they're allowed into France. President Trump has issued full pardons to his former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and longtime fixer Roger Stone. The move sweeps away the most high-profile convictions from the Mueller inquiry into Russian interference in the US election 4 years ago.
President Trump vetoed a $740.5 billion defense policy bill, objecting to some provisions related to overseas troop levels and the renaming of bases honoring Confederate figures. He also faulted the bill for not including language revoking social media companies' broad immunity from liability over user content on their platforms. President Trump issued 26 more pardons, granting clemency to individuals including former campaign chairman Paul Manafort, longtime advisor Roger Stone, and Charles Kushner, the father of Trump's son-in-law. The UK and European Union are on the verge of reaching a post-Brexit trade agreement ahead of a December 31st deadline. Negotiators are going through the fine print of the accord, according to people familiar with the talks. Alibaba founder Jack Ma's companies are facing a regulatory clampdown in China. Market regulators said they are launching an antitrust investigation into e-commerce giant Alibaba. Other officials said they plan to urge Ma's fintech company, Ant Group, to implement financial regulations and other rules. The two companies vowed to cooperate. Ma couldn't be reached for comment. Markets in Asia finished mostly higher, while European shares rose in early trading. And it'll be a short trading day on Wall Street. The stock market will close at 1 p.m. Eastern ahead of the Christmas holiday.
We start with the coronavirus situation here in Japan. Infections are continuing to rise. Confirmed new cases on Thursday reached a record high for the country and the capital. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government reported 888 new cases. The previous record was 821. That was a week ago. Medical institutions are making sure they can handle patients during the New Year holidays. A medical association in Tokyo opened a makeshift clinic to test and treat them. Doctors registered with the association will take turns to work there.
To ensure there is a place for tests, we will be running this clinic without a break, even during the holidays.
Officials of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government met with their panel of experts. The experts say cases are growing rapidly and that medical services are under strain.
We expect serious dysfunction in the provision of medical services and disruption to the work of public health centers. It's most important to suppress the growth in new cases and prevent the increase in the number of patients in serious condition.
Confirmed new cases across the country on Thursday came to 3,739. So far, more than 210,000 people have tested positive. Over 3,100 have died. Some prefectural governors expressed how they hope residents will spend the holiday season.
I want residents to stay home with the people they're usually with. I want them to refrain from dining with people they're not usually with.
Meanwhile, a new variant of the coronavirus is confirmed to be spreading in Britain. Officials in Hong Kong said 2 citizens who returned from Britain earlier this month were carrying it. Both are teenagers. They received medical treatment. One has recovered, the other is still in hospital. We turn now to a story involving Japan's former Prime Minister Abe Shinzo. Secretary de Abe was indicted for breaking the law on control of political funds. Abe then held a news conference where he apologized for the financial issues and for giving misleading answers about them in the Diet.
The accounting was done without my knowledge. That said, I'm keenly aware of my moral responsibility. I'm deeply remorseful.
And I'd like to apologize to the public from the bottom of my heart. I had checked with my office again and again. I gave answers to the best of my knowledge at the time. But ultimately, some of what I said was contrary to the facts that led the public to lose their trust in politics. As the person who was the head of government, as the head of the Liberal Democratic Party, who should have taken the lead in making sure political funds were in order, and as a parliamentarian who represents the public, I want to make a sincere apology to the public and to all members of the ruling and opposition parties for bringing about this situation.
Abe was asked whether he might resign from the Diet or leave his party. He dodged the question and said he wants to fulfill his duties. On Thursday, Tokyo prosecutors brought a summary indictment against one of Abe's secretaries, a man named Haikawa Hiroyuki. He stands accused of misreporting income and expenditure totaling about $290,000 in connection with parties for Abe supporters. He was ordered by a summary court in Tokyo to pay a fine of $9,600. He paid it the same day. The parties were held before government-funded cherry blossom viewing events while Abe was prime minister. They cost about $220,000 in the 5 years through 2019. Abe's office is thought to have paid at least a third of that. At his press conference, Abe was asked where the money came from. He said it was withdrawn from his account. On Monday, Abe answered questions from prosecutors on a voluntary basis. He denied involvement in the failure to file sufficiently detailed reports on the funding of the parties. Prosecutors decided not to indict him. They said they did not have evidence that would allow them to hold him criminally responsible. Abe plans to offer more explanations to committees in the upper and lower houses of the Diet on Friday. The Chinese government says it's launched an anti-monopoly investigation into e-commerce giant Alibaba Group. The probe comes as the leadership, headed by President Xi Jinping, is tightening control of IT giants. The State Administration for Market Regulation announced on Thursday a probe is underway into Alibaba's monopoly conduct. Alibaba is suspected of using its dominant position to urge business partners on its online market to refrain from dealing with its e-commerce competitors. Also on Thursday, 4 financial regulatory authorities say they'll soon jointly provide guidance to mobile payment provider Ant Group, an Alibaba affiliate. Alibaba Group issued a statement saying it'll actively cooperate with the market regulators' investigation. In an economic policy meeting last week, Xi's leadership announced a plan to ramp up control over IT firms. U.S. President Donald Trump has blamed Iran for a rocket attack on the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. Trump tweeted on Wednesday that the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad was hit on Sunday by several missiles, posting a photo of some that were unexploded. He wrote, "Guess where they were from? Iran." Trump added, "Now we hear chatter of additional attacks against Americans in Iraq. Some friendly health advice to Iran: if one American is killed, I will hold Iran responsible." The U.S. Central Command, which oversees its military in the Middle East, said Sunday's attack involved 21 rockets. The command noted the shelling caused no U.S. injuries, but did damage buildings in the U.S. Embassy compound. The U.S. military is staying vigilant for possible retaliatory assaults by Iran for the killing of a senior commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. General Qasem Soleimani was killed by a U.S. airstrike on Baghdad in January.